everyone, and welcome. Today's speakers are Kathleen Franks, Martin Ward, and Annalee Gulley, who will be discussing social media engagement, Instagram, and Facebook Live. As a reminder, we do not offer CEUs, but will provide information at the end regarding how to receive a certificate of attendance. Today's webinar will be recorded with both the recording and the slides posted online within 5 business days. All attendees will be sent an email once these materials are posted. Kathleen Franks is the Communications and Marketing Manager at Mental Health America of Greater Houston. In her role, she is responsible for the brand identity, communication, and public relations strategies with a strong commitment to promote good mental health for all. Kathleen is experienced in communicating health and wellness messages and works to combat misinformation with credible sources. In the time of COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, everyone has their attention online, and this means an increase in social media engagement. She knew the way her organization engaged with followers had to change and has guided a series of successful live conversations for MHA of Greater Houston. Martin Warren is a certified peer support specialist with a decade of successful experience in marketing and developing behavioral health recovery programs. Martin specializes in creating social media content and regularly attends regional training sessions to showcase new design trends such as video, media platforms, and people analytics tools. A strong believer in the power of positive thinking in the workplace, Martin regularly develops internal recovery wellness campaigns to assist employees with effective mental health techniques. Martin enjoys a good hike, but can also be found creating art and cooking healthy meals for his partner, Robbie. Annalee Gulley has served as the Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs at Mental Health America of Greater Houston since August 2016. With more than a decade of experience working with federal, state, and municipal legislators across the country, Gulley began her career in Senator Edward M. Kennedy's Washington, D.C. office and has stayed with him in different capacities through 2004. She went on to create successful strategic communications campaigns for legislators, candidates, and corporations across the country, working with the U.S. Senator Jon Tester, Mayors Bill White and Julian Castro, as well as Fortune 500 companies, Southwest Airlines and Schlumberger, among others. She serves as the Chairwoman of Texas School-Based Mental Health Task Force and is a member of the Mayor's Commission on Gun Violence, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security's Expert Advisory Group on Uprooted Coastal People, and is a graduate of the Center for Public Policy and Dispute Resolution. Gulley grew up in Houston, Texas, and is a graduate of St. John's School. She received her degree in political communications from Emerson College in Boston, Massachusetts. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Kathleen Franks.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I want to say thank you to everyone who's joining us today, as well as my fellow panelists, Martin and Annalee, for their insight. Week after week, we've faced new challenges and new questions as we navigate choppy and very murky waters. It hasn't been smooth sailing, and I'll definitely touch on some of our oops moments along the way. But we're all doing our best with the resources available. It's in moments like these that we come together to share ideas and support each other. And with all this uncertainty, there's at least one thing that I'm sure of. The attention is on social media. Okay. Ooh. There you go. All right, so 2020 has brought a plethora of different crises. This has altered our media habits. A significant proportion of the nation's population has been under some form of lockdown to curtail the spread of COVID-19. As a result of this, we're consuming unprecedented levels of media to keep us entertained. In the late stages of the pandemic, we still see web browsing increase by 70%, followed by TV viewing increasing by 63%, and social media engagement increasing by 61% over normal usage rates. On the right of your screen, I've included a chart from Forbes magazine tracking each platform, which we have also seen an increase in overall user activity. Even previously deleted or deactivated accounts are now logging back in to stay connected during stay-at-home orders. Community is more important than ever, and social media is a powerful tool in building and maintaining our connections and partnerships. So what can be done by social media managers to engage with followers? We're all visual creatures, but people especially love social live video, as we see the reach is up to 3 times higher. From a marketing perspective, we've seen companies utilize a sense of urgency to get people to take action. We can do that same thing through live social media. I'll begin by speaking about the difference between Instagram Live, Facebook Live, and Facebook Premiere, as all have their benefits. As you may know, these are great ways to connect with your audience in real time with a video stream. Of course, followers receive notifications when you go live, and users can engage with your page and other viewers while the event is happening. This really establishes your page as the host for a virtual forum. We've often seen our community partners connect with each other during these events, and your followers will begin to expect this kind of engagement if you decide to host it weekly, for example. So each time you go live, your content is featured above the rest because these apps prioritize these live videos in the stories list or explore section while you're streaming. You can structure the live like a presentation or a training from one person, or you can invite multiple partners to collaborate or answer follower questions live. So to go live with others on Facebook, you have to use a third-party application such as Zoom. On your Zoom account, make sure you enable live streaming for meetings by selecting Facebook live streaming under account management and account settings. When you've gathered everyone on your Zoom call, just click on the More button on the bottom and go live on Facebook. On Instagram, to go live with others, you have to already be on live, and then you click on the faces symbol and invite somebody to join. But they must already be watching the Instagram live video for you to do this. I also recommend always extending the life of your live content past the 24-hour mark by sharing the video after. On Facebook, you can do this by posting the video to your business page after the event. And on Instagram, look for the arrow pointing down when you finish your live to save your video to your camera roll, and then you can post it to IGTV. Get it on your website too, and send it out to your donors and your board. Get your return on your investment because you've invested time in this. Okay, now we know that each platform targets a different demographic. So other organizations, baby boomers, and Gen X individuals are more active on Facebook, while frequent Instagram users are more often millennials and Gen Z. It really benefits your organization to connect with followers on each of these platforms. So if you're willing, host a simultaneous Facebook and Instagram Live to ensure a well-rounded social media strategy. This is tricky though, because Instagram is the only platform that doesn't allow you to stream from a third-party software. It's still phone only. So an alternative way to do this, besides holding your phone or trying to balance it on your laptop, is to purchase a phone mount to prop right next to your webcam to stream at the same time. But make sure that your phone is very close to your webcam, because it can be distracting when you see somebody going live and their eyes are just moving from camera to camera. If you want one person to go live on Facebook, go to your business page and select live in the area where you normally create a post. Next, select use camera to go live. In addition to using a third-party application like Zoom, you can also use a stream key from YouTube or Twitch to go live. One tip I have is to find the Only Me privacy setting. It's underneath the little gear-shaped graphic, I guess, on the post. And it will allow you to post videos and go live, which is only visible to you. So these posts on Only Me will only appear in your news feed, but not your followers. So this is a good way to do a trial run of your live video before the event. Facebook also has a really great way to show your video to a specific audience with geo-targeting, where you can select a certain city, group, or demographic. Next, I'll move on to Instagram, which is easy. If you swipe right on your phone, you will bring up camera view. And at the bottom, you select live, which is all the way on the left. A tip that I have for Instagram is to pin your video's title. At the beginning of the conversation, while the video is streaming, create a comment from the host page and then hold down the comment until the option to pin appears. This will give late viewers some context on what you're speaking about. Also, see who is watching your live and take note. Or like me, you can just take a screenshot of the attendees to follow up later. Also, if you posted a question on your story prior to the live, you can bring this up during the live for followers to answer. Again, don't forget to save your video after the event to save your camera roll and share to your IGTV. Okay, so there's another option for people who don't like to go live. Facebook Premiere is a new feature that came to Facebook after the live one. It allows you to create a streaming experience with concurrent viewers from a pre-recorded video. You still have all the benefits of notifying users and prioritizing the video in the stories feed, but you can edit the video to eliminate awkward pauses and include graphics, logos, or URLs. Above all, having the right technology makes all the difference. Our first Facebook Premiere months ago did not go as planned because my little MacBook Pro did not have the capacity to process a video that big. So make sure your work from home computer is able to handle large files. Ensure adequate time for exporting and uploading, as the process can take longer if the file size is large. I've edited plenty of videos for our organization, but when I went to export our first premiere, the estimated time was 24 hours, and we were scheduled to go live in 12 hours. So the best advice I can recommend is to plan in advance. Schedule your premiere on a future date with a mid-morning time for best traction. Whether you go live on Instagram or Facebook or schedule a Facebook premiere, your promotion for the event should start at least a week in advance on multiple platforms. This is especially important for Instagram and Facebook stories, which end after 24 hours. You can use this announcement to increase pre-video engagement and live video views by asking users to ask their questions you'd like us to answer by sending us a message before the video. Also consider asking for questions on Twitter. You can email your board, partners, or donor list and let them know that you're going to be going live at a certain time and hope that they will join you. If you're hosting a Facebook premiere and you know the questions and answers ahead of time, you can also host a simultaneous Twitter chat to increase engagement. In a second, I'll show you how we did that for our town hall events. Paid promotions can be a great way to get your content viewed by the right people because Facebook tracks user interests like child mental health and puts your video in front of them. If you decide to host your own town hall, like we did, be aware that you will not be able to do a paid promotion on that because Facebook policy doesn't allow politicians to take on ads on the platform anymore. So here's an example of the simultaneous Twitter chat that we held with our town hall. It's in Q&A format, so Q1A1, so that followers can easily follow along with the conversation in real time, even if they aren't viewing the live. It allows participants like Senator Powell the opportunity to easily retweet any notable statement she said. It just takes a while to transcribe the video and write everything out, so I would reiterate, give yourself adequate time. So here's what it looks like when you schedule a Facebook premiere. Be sure to write an engaging headline and description so viewers know what to expect. Explain to viewers what they will take away from the event and be sure to tag community partners who have collaborated with you because this will allow them to share it as well. Whenever possible, in your partner collaborations, you should provide participants with a toolkit for the event. This should include a clearly defined one-pager for assessing the video, social media graphics for promotion on their channels, email and social media copy, and general information that everyone knows but still seems to forget, like a strong Wi-Fi connection, muting yourself when you're not speaking, and silencing your phones during the event. Ask your participants to log in at least 30 minutes before the video recording time to eliminate any issues. Remember, your participants may not be as familiar with this platform. Also, you should engage with partners on social media in your promotion before the event and the day of to make sure you tag them as well. Event promotion can be repurposed depending on the constituents. For example, for the premiere, make sure you get it up on YouTube and your website before the event premiere, and then you can use these links to offer a sneak peek to your board members or your donors. Utilize the comment section in the video to promote other content, such as your partner's website, your specific mental health screening URL if you have one, and add in links relevant to the content, questions, and your call to action in the comment section. Okay, so next I'd like to share some engagement tips for getting the most out of your videos. Before the event, you should create graphics for promotion and send them to all collaborators at least a week before your live video. Ideally, I'd post 1 week before the event and then a reminder a day before or the day of. In my opinion, promoting much more before 1 week, an event can just get lost in the competitive social feeds that we're seeing right now. Especially because many people are experiencing Zoom fatigue and possibly live video fatigue. For graphics, if you don't have Adobe Photoshop, I highly recommend canva.com. It's a free service which allows you to easily create content. You can also promote this event by doing a short story on Facebook or Instagram with the host featured in the video or another spokesperson from your organization. An example of this would be, "Hi, I'm Kathleen. If you've been feeling stressed about our current situation, tune into our live video tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to learn more important self-care strategies." Before going live, outline the video and include timely call to actions, like follow us on Instagram, or don't forget to leave your questions in the comment box, and encourage users to like and share your video. Once on camera, test the sound and video quality with a colleague or peer. Choose a clean and aesthetically pleasing background with nothing distracting in frame. You want viewers to focus on what you're saying. Find a small and quiet room for maximum sound quality. Film with the window in front of you so natural light is on your face and not behind. And my biggest pet peeve, please do not hold your phone. We can tell, and it will turn people away from your content if it's shaking. Prop your phone up against something or use a phone mount. Also, don't forget to charge your phone. Finally, a strong Wi-Fi connection is a must, and it can make or break you, so find a reliable connection. Next, keep reintroducing yourself. This may be the first time followers have seen your face. Always take the time to introduce yourself and say your title. Another big oops that we have encountered is Zoom bombing. If you aren't familiar, consider yourself lucky. Zoom bombing is an unwanted, disruptive intrusion, generally by internet trolls or hackers, into a video conference call. Depending on the Zoom bomber and the conversation, this can be extremely disturbing. But thankfully, there is a way to protect your organization. Never publicly promote your Zoom ID, your Zoom meeting ID. Only provide it to participants or collaborators. And if needed, require registration and a password for your events. Write down metrics at the end of the live video and see how engagement increases after the broadcast. Above all, find creative ways to engage with your public. Your organization can reveal new campaigns, projects, or partnerships with the public, like a short press release. Start social media campaigns and tag partners to get them involved and make them feel like they're right there with you. Feature a special guest by seeing who is active on social and asking them to collaborate. What I always do is I send an email and shoot my shot, and sometimes it works. For the Q&A panel format, you should collect questions beforehand on all social media platforms. And in general, try to get followers involved as much as possible. This means asking for feedback after the event, or sending them the comment section and any comments that they may have gotten directed at them. Above all, be strategic in your messaging and ask yourself the real purpose for creating this live video. Don't feel the need to just do videos right now just to do them. Social media and health communication is where everyone's attention is at, but you don't want to inundate your audience with unnecessary content. Finally, relax and be yourself. More than anything, viewers want authenticity. Genuine conversations work best in these situations. And when done right, they can feel like a phone conversation with an old friend. So be relatable and don't worry about mistakes or stutters. I hope this information that I shared with you today is helpful and you feel more confident utilizing this important tool to connect with your followers. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. My email is not listed here, but it is kfranks, F-R-A-N-K-S, @mhahouston.org. Thank you so much. Oh, and these are our social channels. Feel free to follow us there as well. We post very frequently, and we'd love your support.
Hey, Martin, we can hear you.
Okay, can you see me is the, let's see here. Let's see. All right, there we go. Hi, friends. How you doing today? Again, my name is Martin. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me today to talk about not just social media, but the power of peer support and how you're able to utilize social media to get to folks in recovery from mental health and substance use disorders. So it wasn't in my outline there, but I work for Mental Health America of Northern Kentucky, Southwest Ohio as the outreach coordinator. And it has been a wild past couple of months as we've been able to take our peer support programming and putting it online virtually for our consumers. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next slide here. Let's see, it's not letting me, there we go. Let's see, we need to go back. Okay. Okay, so if your agency is looking to go taking all of your peer support programming and taking it from the agency and making it virtual, going online, there's definitely some platforms you can use, obviously Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but we've learned that there's some benefits of utilizing Facebook and Instagram versus the HD cloud meetings such as Zoom, Office Suite. What we've learned is when we take for example, our peer support groups online, we're able to engage with the follower, asking questions, getting them engaged. If your agency has an enrollment process and you have people that are engaged in your services each week, this is a great way to stay in contact with them, as a lot of folks aren't able to utilize cloud HD meetings such as Zoom. Most people have Facebook today and they're able to utilize that. So what we've seen with the benefits of Facebook engagement, such as videos, peer support groups, people are able to engage more authentic, they're able to engage authentically through that. One of the programs that we have here at Mental Health America in Northern Kentucky is we have a recovery center for peer support specialists, and we have our Facebook page has been a big part of our outreach for reaching people in recovery And one of the things that's been really important for us has been to use our actual staff photos instead of stock photos. So there's a few. So there are a few websites you can go to, such as Pexel, to get stock photos. You can go to canva.com. They have stock photos of, you can just type in, counseling or therapy and pull up stock photos of people that you can use for your graphics. Obviously, we want to engage on a deeper level when working with people in recovery and reaching people in recovery. So using your staff to take photos of your staff, use videos of your staff, versus using stock designs or stock photos when creating that engaging content. We want to stand out and think differently. So one of the things we've learned is when creating content for peer support and people that we work with, we've learned that using actual recovery stories, people sharing their stories of hope and encouragement, and diversity, working with people of color, LGBTQ individuals, sharing their stories of recovery. It keeps folks who are at home that typically utilize peer support services in the building will be able to engage online. But through the recovery stories, people share their stories of overcoming addiction and wellness with recovery, of mental health, and they're able to have that relatability piece on the internet. And because we're able to go live on Facebook, people can respond and ask questions and engage with the staff member that's sharing their story, or a person in the community that's in recovery that is able to share their story as well. We've also been able to use social media experts. I encourage you to reach out to social media marketing students in your community, people that are learning and more about social media. You can bring them on to learn more about ways to engage. So you want to reinforce the target audience and talk about the impact you want to have in the community. As we know, with substance use disorder and mental illness can cause isolation and people to recoil from their support systems, especially during COVID-19. And it's important to reinforce that impact that you want to make. Take the core values and the beliefs that you have at your agency and apply them to your graphics and to your videos. And when it comes to peer support, the content should reinforce recovery. Talking about those positive affirmations that come with recovery, wellness, hope, encouragement, perseverance, having your social media and your posts around this. We've learned that people, when we focus on the wellness of recovery in our social media content, we are able to engage more proficiently. Okay. So you want to create polarizing content. So the content with the audience, connect with the audience on a deep level. So what that would look like is obviously talking to the people that are interested in the peer support content, and somewhat weeding out the people that aren't interested in it. So taking a look at your target audience with this is really important. When you take a look at your followers on your Facebook page, for example, if you're a consumer operated agency, are the people community partners? Are they social workers, counselors, or as a majority of the people, the followers on there are people in recovery? We want to speak with them, not at them. We want to use recovery language that is familiar to people in recovery. Not everyone understands substance use disorder, but maybe words like addiction, substance abuse. We want to grab attention with great video content. Again, going back to those recovery stories, we've learned that putting information out with quotes and positive affirmations are really engaging, but what we've learned is people really enjoy hearing stories of people in recovery talk about how they've been able to get through certain challenges in their recovery. So taking your peer support program online, we're selling transformation. As we know, people in recovery are dynamic and creative people, and we are people with lots of talent, and we're very perseverant and able to get through a lot of things. And that's what we want to promote and sell with our peer support stuff that we put on the internet. And remember, our first 30 seconds is the most important when it comes to putting our peer support. The presenter before me talked about the shaky phone, and if you're recording a video, it's always important to make sure that we're grabbing attention the first 30 seconds. If you have a person in recovery that's sharing their story, have them talk about how they're a person in recovery and how they're here for support. Body language and big smiles is a big thing. Make sure that we're the person that's presenting in your live video talking about recovery is sitting up tall and confident with a big smile. Do some research. The presenter before me had some great content on how to create those videos and to put them online. So make sure you utilize community support, people that have been utilizing social media and behavioral health for a very long time. Sometimes you can just do a Google search. There's lots of behavioral health marketing conferences that are available as well. Don't promote, solution to help solve. So when we're putting that content out, we're not promoting recovery, but we're attracting people in recovery. We're getting people engaged. Staying away from the marketing techniques, the selling techniques. No, we're not selling a car here. We're selling a way of life for people in recovery. So I really appreciate you having me on here today. Again, I don't have my information if you were to reach out to me. I work for Mental Health America of Northern Kentucky, Southwest Ohio. It's been a real pleasure having you on here today talking about peer support and taking peer support online. If you would like to reach out to me, my email address is mwarne@mhankyswoh.org. Thank you so much.
We can hear you, Annalee.
Oh, okay. Hold on one second. One thing you should know, first of all, I'm Annalee Gulley. I'm the Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs at MHA of Greater Houston. I am terrified still of Zoom and all of these things and social media, so this is also all new to me. But I am here just to talk to you briefly about how our organization came about engaging in this process, and really how we learned from several mistakes, but actually turned them into really great opportunities. So again, as I'm Public Policy and Government Affairs, the first two webinars that we did actually were with government officials. And Texas, I know everyone's a little bit different, so Texas went on its shutdown on March 19th. And we kind of sat around, no one knew what to do, but everyone was panicked and everyone wanted to do something. And I started getting really an incredible, overwhelming number of legislators calling me saying, how do we talk about this if we can't leave our house? How do we get engaged to our constituents? What can you do to help us? So this is what we came up with, and we decided that, this would be a great online forum. It was something that we in an organization had not tackled yet. So our first was, as Kathleen said, it was a learning experience. But I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, once we got that ask, decided we would do that, how we put the pieces together to move forward. So first, I'll tell you, you won't know who these people are, but I can tell you that we had Chair Sarah Davis, Chair Synchronia Thompson, Chair Dade Phelan, Chair Jean Wu, and oh Lord, I forgot the other one. But they are all Greater Houston area representatives. And not only that, but they have all been dedicated to the cause of mental health and have been partners that we've worked with for quite a while. And when they spoke out to us, we said, these are the people we should reach out to because they are our friends and partners. And we want to make sure that they look good, as well as we provide helpful information to our community who at that point was not receiving a lot of information at all, especially when it came to mental health. So we decided we would put this together. We were really encouraged by the fact that every single one of the representatives we reached out to almost immediately said yes. And so we said, okay, great. They said yes. Now what do we do? And a lot of us had no idea. But so I started managing the strategy piece. Rebecca, who you'll hear from in just a second, started managing the logistics of working with these elected officials. And Kathleen obviously did a wonderful job on communications. I'd say the first thing that you really need to do with a legislator is figure out what you're getting them into. So if you say, will you come and do, a Zoom meeting with us? It'll be open to the public. You have to tell them really what you're going to be asking them to do. So you have to come up with a theme, an overarching theme. And for us, again, we didn't really know what was going to happen with COVID. We didn't know, for example, we didn't know that we'd be hitting our peak now, which is mildly terrifying, but whatever. But so we started off knowing very little. And so what we said is that Houston is an environment that, its residents go through multiple traumas based on other outside events. We've just started to recover from Harvey in 2017, and that destroyed so many communities. And we know that not only adults, but probably more importantly, children, because of how they'll be affected moving forward in their life, were greatly impacted by this storm. So we felt like we were finally starting to gain some traction and really starting to talk about mental health in a public way. And then COVID starts. And honestly, I felt like I have been fighting the legislature, and others have as well, for school-based mental health programs for our students. But what do we do when we're no longer school-based, when the kids aren't on campus? So we had to pivot very quickly and figure out new solutions. So we were working on that, but we said to the legislature, what does this look like? How do we help people? And when you go back in January, how are you even going to approach this? We didn't ask them to talk about what their policies were because no one had them yet. We just said, what will be your approach? And what are you scared of? And what are you thinking about now? What can we really kind of put our hands around as problems that needed to be solved? So when we did the first conversation, again, it was dealing with communities experiencing constant trauma. We dealt with that. We dealt with legislators who were committed to mental health, but also committed to Houston and working with us very closely. We had so many calls. I swear to God, my phone just wouldn't stop, to the point where I actually got annoyed, from other legislative offices that saw it and wanted to participate. And in the beginning, it kind of had us begging and shuffling and trying to get these people around. And then the second one, we had to tell people no. Because one of the things we learned, you can only have about 3 people on there without getting totally off topic and just having it be too far ranging in discussion items. And if you really want to have a focused discussion that can be impactful, you need to keep it to around 3, maybe 4 if you include the moderator. So we were actually telling people no, very important people that we will be working with, but we told them no because we had reasons. And that's the biggest thing that I would say if you're planning this, especially for elected officials, but for all constituents. We said, these are all Houston legislators. They've all helped us and either authored or voted in favor of our bills in the legislature. They are all committed to mental health, and we're here to talk to them about trauma. So if someone came in and said, well, I'm in Austin, why didn't you call me? We went back to our reasons. This was for Houston legislators. And so just have a rationale about how you shape these conversations, not only because it'll create a better conversation for all of you and for all of the viewers, but kind of covers your butt, because you're going to have people who say, well, why didn't I get to do that? And you can tell them why and say, but we'll be knowing another one in the future. And we know that you've worked hard on XYZ, and that's when we'll call you. And so no one gets mad. It's just kind of accepted and moved on. At that point, though, you do have to make sure your upcoming online conversations, they make sense within that rationale. So the first one that we created was had to do with school-based mental health, because we work very actively in that space here in Houston. We have quite a legislative record in making sure that those bills are passed, and so we have very good relationships. We limit it to 2 people. We have the chairman of the House Public Education Committee and a representative of the Senate Education Committee, who is a former school board member. And we had a conversation with them for an hour, and they were not located in one location, but they were all individuals who worked very closely on these issues every day and would be key decision makers in January. So if someone came back and said, well, why wasn't I in this one? It's the second one. Well, we picked these 2 because they were on education committees, and we know they're going to have a lot to do with forming the legislative agenda around education in the winter. We've got others planned. All of these follow that same rationale. So individuals who've had quite a bit of experience crafting policy, individuals who have shown a commitment to mental health. We'll probably look at integrated healthcare for our next presentation. And the idea with that one is, who's really been working on maternal mortality and morbidity? Who's working on telehealth? Because this is just going to be an issue that will explode starting with this crisis here. And who's working on payers and how we put this together, and so that we have a dynamic conversation, but around one issue, the small group of people that we can point to and say, these are individuals who have been working on this for months and years. So I would just say that, and also be as gracious as possible. Write out, I'll say this, and this is an awful thing to say, but electeds have a point at which they're lazy and they want to do this event for you, but they want you to kind of walk them through it and give you everything you need. So tell them the questions that you are going to ask. Give them potential answers. You're not there for a gotcha game. This is not something that they're going to come into and potentially look bad. We want a good conversation where they are perceived well and we have them feel comfortable to really be able to have some interesting dynamics and conversations be had. So help them with whatever they want. Call their communications director, call their chief of staff, make sure they know how to log on. Start the program for the electeds 30 minutes ahead of time so they have that time to work out any kinks for the technology, because I'd say a few don't do that well, which is fine. I don't either. But so just try to make it as a positive of an experience as you can for those legislators, because if you make them look good and you're easy to work with and you do quality content, they're going to work with us in the session. So that's basically all I have right now. I wanted to talk about crafting a winning strategy, but I wanted to turn it over to Rebecca now, because while I thought through that and she helped, she really made sure it happened, and it was effective because of her and the work that Kathleen did. So thank you guys again for your time, and I hope this was a helpful conversation. Rebecca, are we ready for you right now?
I think I've been unmuted. I don't know.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Well, thank you, Annalee and Kathleen, for kind of starting off this conversation. As Annalee said, when we first started this, it was really a need of kind of getting information out, having conversations with decision makers, to really look at immediately what's happening in COVID, immediately what's happening in Houston. And I think that what we've learned now, or as we're moving forward, as Annalee said, is really looking at how we want to use the ability to talk to legislators or talk to community partners that we haven't before, in new ways, and really use this virtual meeting space to our advantage. And so, excuse me. And so, as Annalee said, as we look forward, we are looking at the strategy of who are folks that we haven't talked to in the past that we do want to talk to now, both for elected officials and community partners. As Kathleen pointed to, the toolkit is really helpful, not only in sharing your messaging and having a very clear communication point, but it's also a good recruitment and engagement tool for partners who maybe you haven't worked with in the past, but you want to share like, hey, this thing is going on and we'd really love to work with you. I know that as a policy team, we've done that with a couple of organizations that, we sent the topics, the online conversation toolkit to them, and their feedback was really like, wow, we want to have these conversations with you as well. What can we do? And so we are starting to have building a broader base with electeds and with community partners. So don't diminish, but the toolkit and the engagement strategy that can go behind it can actually be really powerful. And so keep that in mind. And the kind of last piece on here on the slide, you do see topics that you can look at. So, what are educational opportunities, including on-campus behavioral health? Like, we want to make it topical. We want to make it relevant. And again, that will just depend on who you are talking to. So if you're talking to a legislator that's over housing or over criminal justice and looking at step down and substance use supports, and it's the rural Texas, that would be a great person to invite. And then also looking in the community and saying, who's working in this space. And as Annalee said, we're not asking specific questions to have them solve it, but really wanting to hear their experiences. And as one of the commenters said, we're just doing storytelling right now to hear what people are experiencing. And so think creatively as far as who you can talk to and why you want to talk to them. And we've found it that folks are really receptive. That's kind of the planning and the strategy piece. The last piece is the back end, kind of the planning. And so as I'm sure you all have heard, there is a lot of work that goes into this on the communications piece and also on the public policy piece. And so what we found was really helpful to have another person really doing the project management of this. So on the back end, making sure that we did create enough time and have enough, at least about 2 weeks, so I would say is proper planning to begin the recording of the conversations, and then doing the outreach, and then doing the follow-up, because it's not, your job is not done once you have the Facebook premiere or you go live on YouTube. That is when you follow up then with the elected officials and say, hey, look at, this is how many views that we got. This is how many people were engaged on Twitter. And we found that they were really excited about seeing those metrics and seeing those numbers. And so just keep that in mind, that this is a longer process than just a one-time Zoom, you premiere it and you're done. And so what I found to be helpful is really clearly from the beginning, creating a timeline of, we have these 2 weeks for this one topic. Like, let's build in time for things to fail. And I think that's probably what was more successful about our second event, is that we had the technology snafus of the first one, as Kathleen said, 12 hours to premiere a video that was going to take 24 hours to download. And so really being realistic about people's work time and about the technology capabilities of everyone, and building out a kinder timeline to really not add to the stress that already exists. And then with the legislators, as Annalee said, there is a lot of prep work that does need to be done prior to. So just as we have the toolkit for partners, you know, we do have an additional toolkit that's very similar to the toolkit we give to partners, but specifically for the elected officials, where we create tweets for them that already have their account information on them and already tag partners with the questions that, you know, we gather from folks on Twitter or from board members. We would then send those to the elected officials prior to, so that they can prepare. Because as Annalee said, this is not a gotcha moment. This is really a time for people to share what they see in their district, or what they see as a concern, or a way to support what's happening. And I would say once you have that toolkit and once you have those questions, we found that elected officials were actually very comfortable and kind of happy to have that conversation, because they trusted that, you know, they could show up as themselves as well. So those are kind of the two big pieces of, one, the back end planning and making sure you really do a little extra prep for the elected officials specifically, just because there are some additional supports that are needed there, but also, you know, in knowing that, create a timeline that builds in that need for specific engagement for elected officials, a specific engagement for community members, and then our community partners, and then specific engagement for just general advertising about the event. So there's a lot of different components to think about when planning an online conversation like this. And so we just want to make sure that you think of all the different pieces. And that's it for me.
Thank you to all of our presenters. We have gotten a couple of questions that didn't make it into the chat box that I was hoping that we could answer. And I think some of the answers in the question and answer section aren't actually visible to all of the participants. So I'm going to read those off and allow people to respond to those as well. The first question was if the geotagged demographics were going to cost you money to get from Kathleen's presentation.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question. What, can you repeat it, please? I didn't hear the question, but I do think it was something about cost. Occasionally, there are going to be costs. The way we got out of the hiccup we had with the first event, in which we had to download, 24 hours worth of content in 12. And I think everyone needs to expect there could be last minute costs. They're usually not high. If you have someone, we used an individual who helps us with our communications and technology services. So build that in as a worst case scenario. But usually you can do all of this with proper planning. We did our second one without any cost to the organization at all. I would also say if you want to promote the organization and the event with more of a reach, that is a great opportunity to engage community partners. I would just be clear at the beginning of engaging community partners what exactly your ask is of them, so that you don't have either individuals who don't pull their weight or who potentially overstep. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I think that in general, you want them to know exactly what you want them to do. And I think at that point, it allows you a better reach, a larger universe of people to talk to and to listen during these presentations. I have no idea if that's helpful.
I think I heard a part of the question that it was about the geotagging on Facebook, which I don't believe it costs money. You can make an ad for the videos and the content that you're promoting, but you don't have to. If you want to make a premiere, you just have to select, for example, Houston, Texas, and it will put your video in front of people in Houston that are interested in that content. So I hope that answers.
Great, thank you. Another question we got was about 508 compliance on these platforms and ensuring that there's accessibility based on I think that's the American with Disabilities Act that requires certain levels of compliance in terms of the differences in colors for colorblind people, as well as closed captioning and other things for people who are hard of hearing.
Okay, I'll take that one. So yes, you can absolutely make your video feeds on these platforms more accessible for the 508 compliance. You go to your platform home screen and it's through settings. So there's an accessibility setting through these platforms where you can add subtitles or closed captioning for some videos. Sometimes it's not available, but most of the time it is. And if you pre-record and do the premiere video, you most definitely can get closed captioning once you upload it onto YouTube.
Great, thank you so much. Another question that we got was about how much RAM is required to for the Facebook premiere, given that you had talked about having difficulty running it on your MacBook, which tends to have a pretty decent amount of RAM.
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good question. So my MacBook is very small. I'm actually trying to get how much data I have right now so I can explain that to you. But some of these videos can be upwards of 15 kilobytes. So I would really, if you don't have a large storage capacity on your computer, maybe consider investing in a external hard drive so that you can solely use that just for these videos. Because if you have an hour-long video, I mean, that can take up a huge amount of storage space on your computer. And if you're like me and you have other things taking up a lot of room like graphics, then it just won't be able to export. So I would recommend an external hard drive if you don't have a huge capacity on your work at home computer.
I guess I would just add, Kathleen is absolutely right, but I guess from again, not a technical point of view, I think that there always are going to be things that you don't realize are going to be a problem and or that you realize you didn't do. So I would just encourage this also to be a learning opportunity and find solutions by talking to other affiliates. I think that's how we found this solution. And just realize there's always a learning curve here. And, there might be a point where this type of communication, this type of presentation is just like an old hat. But right now, just talk to as many people as you can and make sure that you hear solutions like this. If you do have questions or special populations, you need to read.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of our presenters. As a reminder, the slides and recording will be posted online within 5 business days on the event page, and a link will be sent out to all of the attendees. And if you need a certificate of attendance, please email mhalpern@mhanational.org. Thank you.